Hey, raise it up, why? Raise it up. Raise it up, why? Hey, raise it up. Hey, raise it up, why? Raise it up. Raise it up, why? Raise it up. North side, raise it up. South side, raise it up. East side, raise it up. West side, raise it up. Raise it up, raise it up, raise it up, raise it up, raise it up. North side, raise it up. South side, raise it up. East side, raise it up. The west side, raise it up. Raise it up, raise it up, raise it up, raise it up, raise it up.
That's all staying, by the way. Hey, loves. My name is Wyann Vaughn, also known as Y, and this is a sneak attack final episode for 2019 of Raise It Up Y, the podcast. You all know that my number is 13. I recognize that there are only 12 months in the year, and I only do this once a month. There was no way I was allowing the year to go by without giving you all a 13th little dose, you understand? That's why you're getting it today, New Year's Eve, so that you all can have a way to leave this year kind of recapping everywhere we've been and what we've been doing. On the last few episodes, you all have heard me talk about how much positive feedback I would get from my Wyann's Words of Wisdom, as well as other segments, but Wyann's Words of Wisdom in particular. I heard you all. I heard suggestions from some of you all that says, man, I really would have wanted some like a positive motivational book from you just to hear you calm me down. One of my homeboys told me, I didn't even want to call you why. I just wish there was somewhere I wish I could have been to just hear you affirm me or just say good stuff because I was ready to blow up on someone in the industry. And they just asked if there was just somewhere I would be willing to put a bunch of positive feedback in one place. Guess what, y'all? My loves, you asked for it. And now, bang, bang, it's coming right back at you, all right? This sneak attack surprise 13th episode of Raise It Up Y will feature every one of the Wyann's Words of Wisdom from episode 1 down to 12, which just came out a few days ago. And right now, I'm going to give you a new one at the very end. So you're seeing me right now. You're going to see me at the end again. All right. And again, I'm also saying you're seeing me. Hi, Spotify. Hi, Apple Podcasts. You are hearing me. I appreciate each of you. I love all of you. I don't have to know each of you for me to decide that I choose to love all of you. Please sit back, have a drink of water. Yeah, that part. No, it's New Year's Eve. Fuck it. Have some champagne and I'm gonna run around and have some sparkling ciders. Okay. I like sparkling cider. Y'all know I don't drink. Dave, do you drink?
I do.
What do you drink for New Year's?
Beer.
Okay. Celebratory beer. What do you drink, Katie? Rosé. Okay, ladies. So yeah, you got a ladies man over there that had to let y'all know he drink rosé. So if y'all trying to turn up with a white one, with a bald head and a nice beard and the pretty eyes, yeah, that part. Or if you was a nice young man and you want to have some very non-alcoholic Martinelli's. Guys, go. Let's get into these words of wisdom. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I'm very happy that y'all get this last taste of evolution that you guys have come through this entire year. I'll see you guys at the end on part 13. 13 itself is a number thought to be about new beginnings. With this being the first episode of a new beginning in my life, I wanted to invite you to incorporate that new thing, whatever it may be, that you want to at least try to do and or be before it's lights out on your play. And I want to help you with that encouragement of doing you and being you, that thing that sits inside of you with some words that I journaled randomly the other night. It's a soft but a serious reminder. Pain makes an entrance when an exit is delayed. Pain can make an entrance into your life when an exit is delayed. Here's what I mean by that. Tony Robbins, who's a really dope and kind of cute motivational speaker. Hey, Tony. He talks about when you do the right thing at the wrong time, the result is pain. If we were in my math class years ago with Los Angeles Unified School District's adult school program, I would have given you a lesson on integers that went something like, if you see numbers with opposite signs, one negative, one positive, I can assure you that the two numbers with the two different signs are either taking away from each other, there's a subtraction going on, or their whole result is negative. It just depends on if you're subtracting or if you're multiplying, dividing, but that doesn't matter. My whole thing is, if you see things that are opposite, like feeling good, but doing an opposite behavior while you're feeling good. Knowing something is in you to do and taking an inaction, even though everything in you, deep within you, is trying to push you forward, and you kind of, nope, I want to stay stagnant. I want to stay here. I want to go back. The result will be pain. But we do this because we like to be creatures of habits. Humans are creatures of habits, and we like to classify things and put things neatly in boxes so that we can compute what life is. These are the roles that we take in life. One of my homies years ago had me rolling because he was telling me about one of his homies. They were Crips, by the way. His homie's name was Fat Cuz, okay? He was obviously fat. So what happens, just thinking about those roles in life, what happens if Fat Cuz ever decides to lose weight or get really hella fit? His entire identity has been formed around his current state. Therefore, the whole hood would have to find a new way to relate to him. And I don't know if y'all realize, but this is a lot of hard work. So the Fat Cuz parts of us in our lives are the parts of us that we've come to be known by. They are our roles. The strong Black woman, the single mother, the feisty one, the player, the hoe, the loud one, the late one, whatever. These are all our Fat Cousins. So my sister Wendy and I, we always like to note, though, that our roles, which usually display our greatest strengths, can also be the source of our greatest weaknesses. Balance is always the key. Balance is always the key. What happens when Fat Cuz gets too fat cuzed and has health problems behind it? What happens when that celebrated single mother recognizes that, this parenting is a lot of hard work and she feels overwhelmed? Or what if she just wants to fall in love and have that as a true desire? My point is, when we don't make the changes we want to see in our lives because change feels scary and it's uncertain as hell, rest assured that despite those very real feelings, I want to be that tiny voice of reason, like Dr. Dre named me, and say, honey, just try. Just try. Try the new thing that you know in your gut you want to do or be, even if just for one day. You like how that feels? You like that? If you try it just for one day, try it for 3 days. Does that feel okay? You're still cool and it actually feels kind of nice? You feel yourself kind of bucking up with it? Try it for a week. And if you like it for a week, fuck it, try it for a month or so. The point is just try. That new thing that's gnawing away in the pit of your stomach, again, from my journaling, pain makes its entrance in your life when an exit, an abandonment of something you've been needing to disallow in your life is delayed. Pain makes an entrance in your life when a necessary exit is delayed. Try your new pieces of you, love. And that's my word of wisdom for you today. Get your new thing off. Do your new stuff.
I'm gangster. Yeah. I'm gangster. Real shit, man. I'm gangster. And no, the head wrap has nothing to do with this statement, neither. I am more G'd up than one would think. Because I feel like the definition of gangster is one who's good in any hood. A person who can be respected as an OG regardless of their geographical location. So let me explain this. I don't know of any more gangster concept in life than love and self-love at that. As a G in love, I go where I want to go in this life peacefully. I do what I desire in this life fully. And I sleep well at night, knowing that I've always been true to myself. I think one might even call that being loyal to my soil. I think E40 would call it that. But love in and of itself doesn't happen without knowledge. And we live in a society now where a lot of people like to know things, but they don't like to learn things. To know things simply means that you can go on a search and type in something and the answer comes right up. When I was a math instructor, it would be like going to the back of the book and looking at the odd answers to the math questions, right? That's knowing. You know the answer. But knowing the answer doesn't help you learn the process. And it feels like in this day and age, learning the process has become less popular for some reason. But if you learn the process, you won't just know the answer to one question. When you learn the process, you learn the key to answer any question that may be on your homework or your tests later on. So if you've caught any promo for the footage of this show, you've heard me say that Raise It Up looks to raise your awareness, your vibration, and your capacity for love. And the capacity for love is knowledge, considering you can't love what it is that you don't know. So think of it like this. Muster any idea of a concept that you love in life right now in your head. Some of you just envisioned your kids or your mate. Others of you may have thought about gaming, let's say, because you love that. Half of you thought of sex. Yeah. And 3 of you probably envisioned your career or your job. Whatever the thing is that you love, though, I want you to hold it in your head right now and then list 3 to maybe 10 things in your head on your own that you know about that thing that you love. List some things in your head to yourself that you know about the thing that you love. But hurry up, because I ain't got all day. Now, if this is something you truly love, you can do this easily. This exercise, no sweat. And you could give me facts for days and go on and on and on tirelessly about that thing that you love. Because all of those little factoids are the things that you know and that you've learned about that subject. Knowledge, therefore, is the key that unlocks the door to the possibility of love. Let me say that again. Knowledge is the key that unlocks the door to the possibility for love. And I say that because sometimes what you unlock that door and open it to, sometimes that room ain't lovely. And just because you know it doesn't mean that it's your favorite thing. It doesn't mean that you're completely enamored with what greets you in that room of possibilities. But you can know it, know your truths, your authentic truths, and at the very least, just acknowledge that they're there. And if those truths, which may not be pretty, are a part of you, maybe we could just work on not hating them. Because if they're a part of you, they got to be some sort of beautiful. Because you are. In case nobody told you today. And no, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your skirt. I'm a bona fide lover and I'm a trained therapist. I'm qualified to tell you that you, yes, you, are a fucking knockout in your own world. And I hope that you look at yourself in that same way, because what I could tell you, man, I know this chick named Wyann. I know her. And the more that life happens, boy, there are nooks and crannies of this chick named Wyann Vaughn. And I look at her sometimes in the mirror, and I can be honest with you. Sometimes the stuff I see, it poses challenges that make me question the very fibers of my being. Because I've made some less than admirable choices, and I've taken my L's, trust. But with the way my loving, gangster-ass mindset is set up, I know that regardless of the L, I know I got the dub. And I'm saying dub not just because I'm from the West, or maybe I am, who knows? You can call it the West Coast chick in me, or the fact that my initials are WLV. WLV. I wake up every day with my dub. I know I'm winning. Every single day I wake up, I know I got a dub. I am winning. But when life hands me an L, with this WLV life that I got going, I take an L, I take a loss, but with the way I'm set up, my victory is directly behind it. I know that. I know that because that's the reality and the truth that I subscribe to. That's the beauty of me knowing me and being able to be comfy with the chick that I see in the mirror every day, when she has makeup on, when she's dressed to the nines, or when she ain't got nothing else going for herself but the fact that she's a sweetheart. I know I'm that bitch every day I wake up. So, however you slice it, I want you to know that real gangster is love. Real gangster is love, not fighting folks that live where you live or killing people that look like you. Not arguing and or debating and then judging every mofo that doesn't think like you. Not people pleasing and doing the will of everybody around you. Whether that be a boss at your job or a street code that attempts to force you to do something that doesn't sit right with the inside of your being. If you're not living to your own knowledge of self, it means that you're living to please somebody else. The hood, a boss, anybody. So what I want you to know is that I don't know what type of gangster you think you are or who you think you might be, but only taking time to discover yourself and knowing yourself and then choosing to love. Because yes, there's choices not to love you, and there's choices to make fun or poke fun at or to self-deprecate and be mean towards you. Yeah, you have those choices, but no, the true gangster, flaws and all, you love on yourself. You love what you've discovered and all of your self-discovery. You love what you've uncovered. Only that sort of thug life makes you a motherfucking gangster to me. And those are my words of wisdom for this day. I hope that you were able to hear the love and the seriousness of my words, because guess what? My words are my words, and I don't take shit back. And I want that to sit with you and know that you, once again, are that beautiful thing that I told you you was and will always be. And let that real love, let that real gangster shit live within you, all right? That shit's gangster like a West Coast Battle Cat beat from fucking '01. Like, boom, 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 boom. You understand? Like, hey, I'm sorry. That's just me. That's just where I live. And as we near the end of Women's History Month, as well as Social Worker Appreciation Month, considering I am both of these wonderful creatures, a woman and a social worker, I thought it'd be nice to impart a piece of wisdom on y'all that just dawned on me this month. I'm perfect, not invincible. I'm perfect. I am. I am my own brand of perfection, and guess what? So are you. I'm sure of it. See, the way I believe, God makes no mistakes. So to say I'm flawed because, let's say, I'm heavier than I think I should be, or I'm not the right height or the right skin color or the right whatever, is to say to God, hey, yo, bro, you messing up. And I'm pretty sure it is never my job to tell God that his work ain't right. So I think like this instead. So long as I'm healthy and living a life that brings no harm to myself or others, I'm living pretty much as close to perfect as I can muster. So long as I try my best each day, I'm going to go on record and say that I am perfect. Hell, what more can anyone do than try their best every day anyways? So bitch, you guessed it. You was right. I am perfect. My recognition of my perfection, though, by no means makes me invincible. And here's where some strong, independent women opinions might want to fight with me if they were closed-minded. But listen and hear me out. As a woman, I very, very newly learned to accept the beauty of my emotions. Being a daddy's girl and a tomboy all my life, I used to see feelings, especially feeling sad or crying even, as a sign of weakness, and I would work to just get over it or plow through it. However, now I acknowledge that things in life can and do hurt me, hence bringing me to my awareness of my perfect lack of invincibility. As a social worker, I learned to herald the strength in my vulnerability. Vulnerability is a scary topic and a scary word, but it is so powerful. And if you want more information on that, a beautiful social worker, Brene Brown, does a whole life's work of vulnerability and shame. And you can very well look her up, and she's going to give you some fucking gems to help put, in your crowns and stack on your back to go through this thing called life a little more equipped, Also, as a trained therapist, which a master of social work is, I learned that one, I have boundaries. And two, that it is necessary to respect those boundaries. So let me help you out with this. This room, okay, any room, is characterized by the 4 walls, 1 floor, and 1 ceiling of its structure. Those are the room's boundaries. It distinguishes it from any other rooms anywhere in the house, hell, anywhere in the world. You only have your room in that one place that is your house. And I don't care how much my bedroom tries, it will never be my kitchen. And I don't care how much your bathroom tries, it'll never be your closet. The boundaries of each room literally identify its space and its location, and therefore it solidifies its very state of being. Most rooms in any building arguably have more self-knowledge than damn near any adult who has never had a reason to be made aware of who or what they are, where they begin and or end in respect to the persons around them. By learning and then respecting my boundaries, I became fully aware of what is and isn't for me, where I should and shouldn't go, and what I can and cannot handle, because there are things that I can't handle. Prolonged exposure to negativity. I can't handle feeling undervalued. I can't handle a man who smokes and drinks and then tries to kiss on me. Fuck that shit. I cannot handle. Feeling stagnant, I can't handle. These are examples of my limits. These types of things are my boundaries, and the existence of my boundaries prove that though I can handle a lot, I am not invincible. I am nowhere near invincible, but I am perfect in the fact that I am not invincible. I bring up this perfect yet not invincible proverb of mine for another reason, a more intimate reason as well. A lot of you hear me in my personal life, if y'all know me, some of y'all do. You hear me say that I love equity, not equality, equity for all people, all people. Therefore, some have heard me say who are close to me, never mistake me for a feminist, ever. Calm down, feminists. You're fine. I'm just not one of you. As a black woman, we're widely known, at least in America, for being strong and independent. And while I'm hella strong and I can function very well on my own, I can also say I have also wanted to be a wife. Like, since I was a little girl, I can't even remember wanting to be a mother as much as I've wanted to be a wife. I have wanted to go through this life not codependent, where you have two individuals that don't know how to stand on their own, and therefore their reliance on leaning on one another makes the whole unit a thing. But interdependence, where I do my shit, he does his, and we make life work together because we choose one another. I've always desired that sort of union with a man. Now, in the community of strong and independent women, not just black women, but any woman who would call herself strong and independent, sometimes the mere desire for a husband seems to be met with a side eye, as if wanting a man weakens a woman's makeup or something. Totally false, by the way. The fact that I would have to defend myself against my desires, the fact that I would have to defend myself and my desires to a jury of judgment whose membership looks like me is the very write out that birthed the ideas and the words, bitch, I'm perfect, not invincible. If these ladies want to go at this work and family life all alone with all of the stressors on their backs, honey, have that shit. I want to be Michelle more than I want to be Oprah. I want to be Claire Huxtable more than I want to be Olivia Pope. Society accepts that black women are highly functional and intelligent, and because they are, they will pile so much on us because they know we can handle it. And we can. But fuck all that for me. I'm cool. So let me be clear to you men. We need you. As a black, strong, independent, hella intelligent, strictly hip-hop, creative, curvaceous, boss chick, let me say it again in case you didn't hear it in the back. Men, we need you. Even when other boss women are too scared of the judgment to admit it to you themselves, let me speak for them as well. Men, we need you. Y'all are so perfect and not invincible, just like us. And life puts the world on your shoulders far too often and expects you to make it, man up, push through, get her done. And what's crazy is, if you listen back to what I just said about black women, don't those sound like some parallel issues we got? But I digress. There's a lot of historical context there that I won't get into. Y'all can Google Sojourner Truth for a taste of it, but I'm not going to get into it deeply. Just know, men, there are boss women out here who see you as perfect and want to move alongside you, not tower over you, not demean you or kick you when you're down, and sure as shit not let you live beneath your greatness. We exist. You're a large part of the reason this podcast was started. Let's keep growing so you can catch one of these unsuspecting fly-ass females and y'all can tell me later about how this podcast helped y'all become the power couple that y'all are. And those are my words of wisdom for today. And PSA, little boys and mere guys, all that shit I just said about men, that was not for you. Let me define for you what I think is a guy. A guy is a term I use for an adult male who decidedly wants to live an average life, that young, dumb, and full of cum type life, even at the age of 40. You be that old uncle that we all avoid. Anyways, none of that is man to me. And I've had the pleasure of being around enough men in my life and in this industry to where I now thankfully know the difference between you guys and real men. So you keep existing though, guys. And when you're ready for your next level, come holler at a real one. And there will be lots of love waiting right here for you too. I am aware that by the time you all see this publication, it will be the last Thursday of April 2019. However, I wanted to take note of the fact that this podcast today is actually being filmed on April 11th, 2019. I want to take a moment to give props to today, because I don't know that many props are given to living directly in the moment. By this being my birthday month, I wanted to give you a lesson that I learned at the end of my 36th year. 36, the age I currently am for 2 more days. And that lesson is there is no real moment but this moment. Attempting to live in the future will result in fear-based, drenched in overwhelming anxiety living. Living in the past will literally swallow you up whole in regret and depression. There is literally only power in the present, in this moment. So going back to today being April 11th, 2019, today our guest, my baby brother, is 29 years old and has been for 3 days. Today, I am, as I already stated, for only 2 more days, 36 years old. And today, we have eternally immortalized the physical version of the great Nipsey Hussle. Our clock is still running where his reached its finish lap not even 2 weeks ago. While I am speaking right now, I think he is currently making his final victory lap around Los Angeles. And I want to talk to you all about the essence of what I think his tagline, "The Marathon Continues," means. First, I want to use the life of my baby brother. That's okay?
Of course.
Okay. I want to tell you on his behalf that if you engage him in conversation and he feels inclined to share, he would be able to tell you that he lived a very, very different yesterday and yesteryear. He would tell you how the choices that he made back then led him some places that can be described as unhealthy and even unsafe. From where he was then, there in that space and time, I don't know that he could have looked into his future and see the present day Warren that he is and that he has become. That example is evidence about why it is so important to only truly consider where you are in the present. living in the complete peace of the present, he was able to slow down his life, as he talked to us about in the Get Raised portion of today's episode, and catch all of the clues that life had there, literally waiting for him, always throwing at him. He caught the clues that life tends to whisper at us. God once told me on one of our talks, it was a day that things were slow and I had somewhere to be, needed to get there fast. It was a slow, deliberate day where he told me that sometimes going slow is the fastest way to go. And so I share that with you now for you to be able to apply to your training in this life race called a marathon. Recognizing that the marathon continues also starts, number 2, with existing in the peace of your current space. By sitting for a second and finding the peace, even within the chaos of any of your situations. When you do that, more of your track is revealed to you. And by it being revealed to you, it helps you know where to run on this marathon that you're continuing. For any of you who do not know, a marathon is not a race. You do not train for a marathon like you would train for a 40-meter sprint. In a marathon, you do not exhaust all of your energy in the front of your efforts. To simply even just complete that marathon, a person must pace him or herself. This is meaning that you, one, have to prepare even before the run begins. Has to be up here. You have to have considered it. Think about it in your mind. Visualize it. 2, you have to know where the rest areas are because you are going to need some form of rest, a bathroom break even, in 26 miles of running, which is the LA Marathon, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to need to know where to rest and where the rest areas are. 3, you're going to literally have to be aware of who is around you. You're going to have to be aware of who's around you. Certain people on the sidelines are cheering for your completion. And they're just cheering for you, man. They want you to do this thing called life. Others are studying how you run because they want to be able to replicate your victories, your successes, and learn from your mistakes. Unfortunately, some others still are simply there just to watch you fail and to confirm their suspicions about how less than dope they always secretly thought you were the whole time. Awareness of your surroundings does not mean that you take note of all these sideline people. It's not that you focus on them and the fact that they are there for whatever reasons they are there, but rather the awareness comes from knowing that someone's watching. People are watching you. You keep putting out those vids and those clips on Instagram. You don't know that the greats might be watching you. You keep releasing your music and doing what you do because you love it. And you don't know that $1 million investor might be watching you. You don't recognize that your niece, your nephew, or your neighbor's child next door sees when you're hustling on the block, doing what you're doing, good or bad, that they're watching you. It's way more important to take note of the fact that you're being watched rather than the people who could be watching you. I hope that made sense. Because regardless of one's intent for watching you, I want you to place further emphasis not on why somebody would be watching your run, but on why you're running, period. Regardless of whether they're there to cheer you on, to analyze your successes, or to secretly confirm shady thoughts about you. You need to be in touch with you and your reasons for continuing on in this marathon at all. In 36 years, today, this moment, publicly I'd like to say that I have earned several degrees. I've worked as an educator for Los Angeles Unified School District in the capacity of math instructor and parent educator. I've been a therapist, and I'm still a trained therapist, but I've been a practicing therapist during my tenure at Long Beach State. I am currently an academic counselor at Pasadena City College's Ujima program, as well as a professor. I've written songs for some of my favorite singers in the world. I've been Grammy nominated. And I've rubbed shoulders with some of the dopest, most influential men that especially West Coast hip hop has to offer. And I feel proud that I can call them my friends. All of this derives from keeping great focus on my reasons for running. I stand for love. I stand for positivity. I stand for awareness. I stand for raising it up. Not to be gimmicky, but to be honest. Being an educator, you never want your student to leave your class failing. That doesn't feel good. I never want my student to only halfway grasp a lesson. I have an assistant over there, Onet Zeleke, who probably has shared more roles with me and has had more versions of a relationship with me than any other person that I can think of, especially in a professional sense. She was my student. She was my mentee, kind of still is. She was my counselee. I counseled her academically for her to be able to go to Long Beach. She's partly a protege. She's a current coworker as a director of a program at Pasadena College. She's a coworker of mine now. And of her own volition, she is my personal assistant. In the last 6 years, she can attest to Wyann Vaughn in all of those roles never having switched up. I never missed a beat. Why? Talking about that ego versus, or rather self-identity versus role confusion. Once you know who you are, authenticity is the only byproduct. Doesn't matter if I'm writing a song or providing therapy. Who I am is who I am. I can tell you that some people have looked at the Wyann show, as I like to call my life, and some of them have been like, yeah, I don't fuck with it. I've been called a paraprofessional by lesser-minded people on the campus of Pasadena City College. I've been called an OG by people who simply know me because they're a follower of the Raise It Up Y accounts. And I've been called a friend and a lover by some of the most beautiful people in this world, including the men behind these cameras, the man sitting next to me over there, and other great people in the realm of hip hop and other music. I got my makeup done today so that I would have encouragement to keep all of my tears for later behind everything I've felt for the physical loss of the great Nipsey Hussle. But as I said at the top of this podcast, one of the things that I do, and I'm continuing to do even right now, is really relegate and relish in and love on all of the legacy that is continuance of this marathon. Once you know your why and you've found your reasons, your purpose, unshakably and unapologetically, Because I'm pretty sure if we're looking at Nip as a role model for today's words of wisdom, there were some places he was okay with making the room uncomfy because he was who he was and other people were who they were. And if somebody was going to switch up, he would rather it be them. And that's his actual words from an interview with him, my homeboy Slink Johnson, and co-signed from the interns on a show called The Man Cave. So you guys can go check that out on Slink's IGTV if he still has it up. But yeah, I'd rather be who I am and make the room uncomfy. I'd rather make you change and have to adjust to who the fuck I am than me attempt to adjust to who I think you need me to be for a deal to go through, to be accepted by a particular group of individuals. Any of that. I want my words of wisdom today to sit with you and resonate with you because they're deeper and bigger than just the lifespan, the 33 years that Nipsey Hussle was on this earth. These words today, I want to go into the pocket of his legacy where the marathon continues. And you guys look at this 10 years from now, and you be like, damn, she's a multimillionaire and she's still crazy. That's still that same Wyann. That's when I know I'll have done my job correctly in this life. And I thank you for listening. And those are my words of wisdom for today. Hey, yo, fuck just. Oh, so when you're not doing entertainment, you're just a counselor at a school, right? Oh, I know your mom and them. They just got that one song. Best of My Love, right? Oh, so you just did background vocals on To Pimp a Butterfly and Compton and the YG stuff. So you ain't really a featured artist, though. I've heard each of these statements from industry folk. Mind you, I differentiate between music people and industry folk. Industry folk. Oh no, shishi poo poo. No, don't call me, I'll call you. Love you, hate you, let's do lunch. Yeah. Last episode we talked about fake Hollywood, well, fake acting like LA, aka Hollywood people, all the transplants. This y'all niggas. That part. Anyways, now because I choose to look at everyone with loving eyes and spirits, I'm going to say that each of these statements came from a place of ignorance and desire to understand. I have no problem with anyone seeking to learn information about me or anything or anyone else. Oh, but if I weren't blessed with that growth, learner, lover, resilience-styled mindset, I can see how some of these statements could be interpreted as someone trying to sun me, which in hip-hop terminology means condescension disguised as ignorance or fake humility. Knowing what I know about how folks can use the word just, today I felt it pertinent to draw attention to how we use it in our everyday speech. Oh, but it don't stop there. Hey, Miss Y, doing this school shit is, man, it's too hard. I'ma just be a rapper. Man, that rapper ain't even hard. He just a one-hit wonder. One hit more than the speaker has, though. Usually, whoever says that, it's one hit more than they no name ass has. Look, I'm doing this and this while you over there just doing that and that. Fill in the blanks as you may. I've heard the first two of those statements from some of my students, while the last one I heard from a couple that I counseled while I was back in school. The distinguishing feature to this just thing is the common way in which it was used to diminish or belittle what someone else does. It's dangerous to even use the word in describing our own efforts. Out of my own mouth, I've most certainly heard the words, "Oh yeah, man, I'm just doing this little podcast grind. Just this little podcast grind. Yeah, I just dropped a little single and shit." Nah, man. Using the term just in these ways is toxic. So the question is, where does this serve us? Huh? Better yet, where do we learn to add the quote unquote just mentality into our lives and our vocabularies? I think it kind of goes back to what one of my 1500 Sound Academy students asked, which is, how do we accept our own greatness? And by the way, the student that I'm thinking of stated it differently. He asked, how do you not get intimidated by the greatness in any given room? Referring to being a songwriter in LA from another, maybe smaller town, and not feeling that your gift is adequate with the likes of songwriters like, let's say, James Fauntleroy, shouts out to 1500 Sound Academy, or someone like, let's say, Neo. So I'll repeat here my response to him by saying first that the reframe of that question feels necessary. Instead of asking how not to feel intimidated by others, let's ask ourselves how we can feel confident within our own unique brands of greatness. This sentiment kind of throws me back to episode 3's Words of Wisdom, where we recognize that we are perfect just as we are, and simply because we are, because we exist. Somewhere along the way, it seems, we learn to compare ourselves to others. Maybe when we're in grade school, if we're going to look at life through the Erik Erikson lens of industry versus inferiority, where we see how someone's work ethic gets them certain grades and acclaim while ours may not. And seeing the person whose industrial nature gets them gold stars or leadership opportunities, others who don't earn grades like these or find other ways to win the esteem of the adults and peers around them may begin to feel inferior. For the record, I do not write like the incomparable James Fauntleroy, nor do I write like the pen of the unstoppable Schaefer, aka Neo. It always feels so weird to call him Neo because I've known that man since I was 17, but we will call him Neo for the sake of this podcast. My pen is not Rhapsody's impeccable pen, nor is it Fonte's or Kendrick's. My pen is my pen. It's so different and perfect and great because I'm the only person who can fulfill it. I never look to sound like one of my great friends or any other great, successful, creative person. If I tried to double up on sounding like anyone else, I'd leave a void in the creative soundscape of music. And that would be a tragedy like none other. To go to my grave never knowing how I sounded? Man. Imagine doing a 500-piece puzzle and deciding that the corner pieces are the most important pieces of all. So you thinking of yourself as some random middle piece of the puzzle, you try to shape, shift, and morph into the second coming of one of the corner pieces. Do you realize that even if you succeeded, even if you change yourself completely to become a carbon copy of something that already existed, do you not see how by doing that, you would never, ever complete the puzzle, namely because you would be missing the random, what you thought was insignificant piece you were to fill that void wouldn't even be there. So the 500-piece puzzle would have 499 intact pieces with one gaping hole where the missing piece called you would have perfectly fit. Now, we can extend this conversation to a bunch of shit, including what I call the Build-A-Bitch era we're in, where surgery's got a bunch of people looking like they came out of a factory, which is all evidence of self-discontentment, or the little new rapper starter kit of facial tats, ad-lib raps with no lyrical content and dreads. But I get it. These aren't the points of this talk. The point is that when one focuses not to the left, nor to the right, but directly on the fullest image that they see in that mirror, and seek to find happiness, joy, and contentment there, shit, the rest of their lives quickly fall into place. If you've ever experienced divorce or heartbreak, or if you have heavy religious ties, or if you've worked to be sober for quite some time now, if you're thick and have only recently learned to accept your body as beautiful, or if you are thin and have only recently found the sexiness in your thinness, if you're black from the suburbs or white from poverty, whatever your unique story is, I should feel it in your creativity, in your music, in your pen, in your tone. Make music from your bones, man. Show me where you're from when you dance. Make me know you from your style of dress. Don't talk it, be it. No caption. Be that sound creator who creates from sound, body, mind, and spirit. I think we have a plethora, a literal oversaturation of creators who create to sound like everybody around them. Don't just create to sound like the next person. Complete the puzzle. Show us you. And those are my words of wisdom for today. I released my second book of poetry called Write Out last year, July 13th. And before that, I authored a book, 13, she's sitting over there, in 2008. And since this episode is called About the Author, I figured I'd share with you all some lessons that I learned about becoming an author before finally trailblazing my path as a music artist after being born into a family of musicians. So lesson one comes from an educator I had in grad school who said, Wyann, the day you stop hiding from yourself in these books, I don't even know if you'll recognize who you are. The lesson here is that the juice in life only comes from getting out of your comfort zone and putting it all on the line. I guess a quotable way to say this is that your safe route isn't safe. I don't know if y'all saw that graduation address from back in the day Jim Carrey gave. And he shunned playing life safely because even your safe route can fail. So if even your safe route can fail, why not go for what you want out of life? And if you don't know about that, then please go look it up. But that taught me to really take what you're doing in the moment and go for what you believe in, like 1,000%. I say that because I taught math at a time when Obama had put out a national call for more math
and English instructors. Ironically, Wendy, my sister, was team teaching with me and she taught English. And when I tell you that Los Angeles Unified School District's wonderful board unanimously voted to end adult education, it was the biggest layoff and the first of its kind in Los Angeles Unified School District. You want to talk about having a safe job, being a math or an English teacher at a time where people were trying to look for more. Mm-hmm. And we got the can from the second largest doggone district in the nation. Shit. That did something to me. It drove my field instructor's message home. Stop hiding in these books, Wyanna. And I say that in my grandmother's voice because she's the one that calls me Wyanna. That's not my real name for people on Instagram. Just want you guys to know. As a result of that, I give you lesson 2. Stop working for mofos that don't believe in you or the work you do. That school board told us we were being laid off Valentine's Day 2012, and we were to report for work all the way until the fiscal year was over, which was June 30. We were supposed to come, give our all, remain punctual, and inspired every day. To which my response was, nigga, please. What you gonna do, fire me? Yeah, that They still wanted quality assurance out of 250,000 employees that were about to get the boot. Good luck with that. This is a sentiment I carried into the music industry. I've never worked with or for any music entity that I did not feel believed in me or my value. That's why I appear on so much work with the same people or similar camps. I'm not letting people pimp my butterfly. And that's an analogy I likened to myself way before I was on that album, To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick. By authoring poetry, the one side of my artistry that I completely believed in, I stepped boldly and deeply into the direction of my dreams, where music felt convoluted with snakes and backbiters, naysayers, and energy suckers. Poetry felt clean and untapped. I guess Esther or Abraham Hicks would call poetry into music my path of least resistance. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, but following my heart and my art's desire to self-publish and slaying my books out my trunk like mixtapes in the 80s got me into that self-employed lifestyle real quick. My third and final lesson comes from recognizing that pushing my rhymes like weight wasn't about to pay off my car. Keep a day job to make your dreams work. I say this to all the broken, struggling artists who compromise their sound to make a quick buck off music, and then you're irrelevant in 6 months looking for a spot on Love and Hip Hop like J. Cole's 1985 alludes to. I created authentically with my poetry and now my music because I'm not struggling to keep my bills paid. I invested into myself early on in my 20s, got some degrees that ensured that I would make a steady amount of income, and I create in my 30s with a soundness that I know is all my own. This is not to say I don't know how I sounded when I was younger. This is to say that if I came into the industry with no leverage like I would have if I were younger, then I know that I would have to compromise something to get anything close to what I wanted out of my music career. And I wasn't willing to sell my soul or my sound to live in Calabasas and be hot for a couple years. I come from music legends, so I wanted and still want my art to stand up to the test of time, which marks legendary status. I have songs that I wrote at 21 that I can still sing at 37 because the lyrics still apply. When I took a particular song that I'm thinking about to Terrace back in the day, he said, nigga, that shit's dope. So who we gonna give it to? I said, well, me. I want it for my stuff. He said, nah, that's gotta be like Mariah or Toni Braxton. Like you can't sing that. No one wants to hear a 21-year-old who has 40-year-old love figured out. And that's a true story. That story is so true that if you ask Warren G, it's his favorite song of mine still, and he gets mad at me whenever he sees me for not having done the song yet. The point is, I've never had to compromise my sound for $1 because I've never been without $1. Like Nip said, and like Nip did, I invested into myself, secured my revenue stream so that when I do music, I do it authentically and not out of desperation. I work with who I want to work with and get to avoid desperate clout chasing energy that runs rampant through this industry. I'd rather chill with my students than fake famous people any day of the week. So recapping, your safe choice ain't your safe choice. Lesson number 1, stop playing yourself small and calling that humble. We shrink ourselves to appeal to lackluster, fear-based folks around us, most of them very close to us. Fuck that. You serve no one with your shoulder slumps and your head held to the ground. Shine big and bright to provide people around you an example of what believing in yourself really, really looks like. Lesson number 2, believe in you while you do what you do. I've had people tell me that my voice wasn't strong. I'm a better poet than a singer, a better background singer than a lead singer, etc. I had an ex tell me I'd be good once I started singing like another singer he enjoyed more. The issue wasn't in any of these opinions of others. They're just showing me their brains and how fucking dumb they were. The issue would have lain in my listening to their crummy advice and stupid opinions. I got me, like you got you. Let other people speak life and death into themselves, but not to you. Lesson 3, work for your dreams. I don't mean work in an efforting sort of way. I mean work in the day so you can live your dreams every night. Don't pimp your talent. Don't force your art to become what'll make the money. Be true to your sound so you can push the culture forward and make legacy moves with your career. You are not copping out, giving up, or losing because you have a day job until things pick up in the music world. Chasing dreams on your homeboy's couch ain't gotta be your reality. Hell, I think that shit eats at your creativity, or at least it shows you a false positive about your art. You ever hear an artist whose first album was groundbreaking, then after that they kind of lose their edge? Mm-hmm. With every subsequent album, they become less and less them. I think that's the result of making great work under unnatural circumstances and crazy stress. You're not showing us your sound as a sound creator when you make music like that. You're showing the world what your art sounds like under pressure, and that's a dangerous cycle to get yourself into. So when you create soundly. How do you create soundly? Get a hold of you. Learn who you are and create from that space. And those are my words of wisdom.
Summertime. Summertime. Let's just sit back and unwind.
Yeah. Summertime has never been one of my favorite seasons. Okay? I get that it's when you break out your favorite bathing suit or the likes and you head to the coast, at least on the West Coast. You know, you head to the beach, you head out and you spend time having fun in the sun. We know in LA that when the sun's out, all the funds is out. Sometimes the guns is out, but we don't talk about that. We're going to work on the fun part, right? Temperatures rise and clothes melt off, leaving bodies exposed from heads to toes. And herein has always lain my rub. Me and my body have a history of not being on the same page. Like all I knew growing up was that whatever Wendy could wear, Wyann could not. And even now, Whitney could tell you that many of the clothes I've ordered online go straight into her closet. Wendy got all my jeans that my hips at 36 decided I would no longer fit and or need. And it's crazy that for a good portion of my life, I only wore boy clothing simply because it fit. It's also what let me know I had hella rump at a very young age. You ever heard the joke when people say, girl, you got so much ass, I can see it coming from the front. Yeah.
A gentleman told me that one day while walking down the street in a pair of Dickie overalls. Dickies because we'd gone school shopping and mom couldn't find any jeans that would fit me. So she took me to the Dickie store right there on Brand back in the day. Yeah. Not far from, it's in between where Phil's is and where the Kia dealer is now.
Wow.
Yeah, back there. So, and that was my life. So I loved it when FUBU and other hip-hop inspired streetwear like Apple Bottoms and Baby Fat got in the game, because I felt for the first time in my teenage life I was going to be able to fit into a pair of jeans designed for females. I quickly learned that I was not an apple bottom, nor did I have baby fat. I can recall in detail how hopeful I felt when those brands came out and I tried on all their largest sizes. I distinctly remember how sad and empty my heart beat when I pulled off the second to last pair of baby fat jeans, size 15, to try the then largest pants they had in the store, a size 17 by the same designer, only because these things would not stretch past my, at the time, 48-inch hips. And with the size 29 at the time waist, I knew for certain that if these jeans could make it past my hips, that they would surely fit me. But it was the beginning of when clothes were beginning to be designed for women who looked like me, and jeans at the time didn't have that much spandex like they do now, so that they would stretch past beautiful curves like mine. So here I was, 17, and unable to fit a size 17, feeling depressed, defeated, ugly, undesirable, and hella overweight when I was actually none of those things. I tell this story to talk about something that my fellow MSW, Brene Brown, brings up in her Netflix special. Do you know the name of it, Whit? Do you remember the name of it? It's not Dare to Be Great. Daring Greatly is the book.
It's the actual book. I'll get it. Can't think of it.
So my fellow MSW, Brene Brown, she brings up this point in her Netflix special about men's and women's most common insecurities. If you want to tear a man down fast, attack his strength. And if you want to quickly tear down a woman, attack her body image. That was called
the Call to Courage.
The Call to Courage is the Brene Brown special on Netflix. When a man feels weak, it's the same sort of undesirable defeat that a woman feels when she thinks her body isn't good enough. Mind you, the beauty industry is a multi-billion-dollar arena that only stands to make money by making attractiveness always feel at an arm's distance away from you and just out of your reach. So I bring all of this up because some of y'all know that I teach personal growth and self-development classes as a professor for the Ujima program at Pasadena City College and as a master instructor for the 1500 Sound Academy in a series I like to call Sound Creators. And in both cases, far too little attention gets paid to one's identity as it relates to their physicality. Our bodies are the first things we see of each other and the last things we often consider in identity because we don't want to be seen as superficial or shallow. But truly, don't we dress in certain ways to play up what we want to highlight about ourselves in various situations? How about those going back to school fits? You had to kill them when you came back. What about taking a job interview? What about dating? The makeup industry at large. Whitney, the gym. Wendy, the stage. I heard someone say to an artist in the studio one time, "Oh, you look like you're trying to sell records now," because he had obviously lost some weight and had bulked up a bit. My point is, our bodies definitely tell us what we think of ourselves and reveals to others aspects that we're willing to show about our identity. So the question is, what does your body say about you? And the more essential question is, do you like what it's saying? about you. The clothes we wear tell that same type of story. Going back to Wyann of 20 years ago in that dressing room, unable to fit that stiff-ass pair of size 17 baby fat jeans, I would like to formally address her and say, girl, you are so damn fine. Thank God those clothes ain't fit you, because it made you search for other ways to outwardly affirm your pretty ass body and curves. Not fitting in made you stand out, pretty girl. Wearing boy clothes made niggas respect you before being blessed with the easy sight of your unprecedented curves. You are the same girl that learned to love yourself when Sir Mix-a-Lot let niggas know that real men like big butts and they could not lie. Hip-hop affirmed you when others only saw its flaws. You always was ahead of the curve. Bitch, because you was the curve.
Come on, man.
So dry your eyes and put them funky little jeans back on the rack. And know that 20 years from now, you gonna rule the world with your body. No, literally. Women will literally pay money to look like you. And you'll have years of experience in knowing how to deal with the responsibilities that come with having curves like yours. So remember, you're the same little girl that never saw your name at the souvenir store when all the Jennifers and Nancys could find theirs. Therefore, you made a legacy of defining yourself. It'll be your greatest asset in life. And you'll even make a podcast to help others learn themselves too. You so fine, baby girl. I know you, 'cause I am you. And I think your curves at 17 are something. But if you think they are something, wait till your hips and your bust expand at 37. And you really gonna shit on the game with your summertime fineness, boo. I love you. You are greatness wrapped in thickness. Don't you know it? Never forget it. And those are my words of wisdom to everybody, but also a younger version of myself. And that's a therapeutic thing that I did right there. That's, you know how I always sell the book Write Out. You know, I just wrote Write Out last year and everything. And actually this month, Write Out turns 1.
Dang.
Write Out came out 7/13.
Wow.
Yes.
In the audio form, the audiobook form.
Hey.
7/13. Yeah. So
It's a year old.
what I just did in that Wyann's Words of Wisdom is I wanted to give you all an example of a processing letter. And processed letters are techniques in the therapeutic world where you literally write out, write your ideas, your thoughts, your comments to something, someone, or an idea. So I've had some of my clients do Dear Addiction. I've had some of my clients do Dear Worry. I've had some of my clients do Dear Fear, Dear Love, Dear Adultery, Dear Wealth, Dear Whitney at 40, Dear Wendy at 10. You see what I'm saying? And those are your process letters. You speak directly to it, like not like if I were speaking to myself direct address.
Right.
You speak directly to it, just like I spoke to Wyann at 17, and let it shit. Wyann, you so damn dope. And I said that at the top of this podcast, though, in the intro, didn't I?
Yeah.
The reason that I speak to myself the way I do is because I had to learn to be like this. This wasn't just what it was at all times.
Right.
So, I like to give that to you guys so that you all can work on those things yourselves
Very good.
and know that these are things that, it's just helping, loving, living, having a good time. So, alignment and allowance, huh? With alignment, you have full access to power, like an appliance plugged in to an energy socket. Allowance is the sound experience of trusting that energy flow to fully fuel your life in an unobstructed and uninhibited way. This life thing, it works pretty fun and effortlessly when you allow yourself to be picked up and carried away by aligned experiences or experiences that you have thought about, focused on, and called into your life by way of keeping them centered in your heart, mind, and soul as you live life happily. Please keep that word happy always somewhere in your life. So now I got something for you to picture. Picture for me, if you will, that you're in a cart pulled by a horse, okay? The horse is kind of looking to and fro this way and that way while you're the one with the sense of direction of where this whole production is going to go. So you devise this great idea and you dangle a carrot from the end of a stick that extends this strategic slice of motivation in front of the horse in every direction you want him to stir. So when you see the path and you want this horse to kind of veer left, you just take that extension with the dangling carrot and move it slightly to the left. And guess what the horse does? Walks slightly to the left. To the right, same actions. Can you see it? I hope you can. The horse, he has one singular focus. Get the carrot. Get the carrot. He doesn't see the trees that you've steered him out of the way of. He may not see the hiccups in the road that could trip him. He doesn't notice whether the road gets Grand Canyon trail thin or open terrain wide. His only concern is get the carrot. Get the carrot. Sooner or later, you will reach your destination and the horse graciously and happily gets his carrot. Now that distance could have been 60 miles or 600 miles. All that matters to the horse is that he finally got it. Imagine for me now that you are the horse. And God, as I like to call my energy source, but please feel free to call that energy the universe or great spirit, Buddha, Allah, however you want to call that driving energetic force that unifies us all harmoniously with love and positivity. That force is now your driver. All knowing, that driver steers you away from the trials and tribulations, all of the distractions in life. Looking out on the journey as the horse, you might become anxiety-filled knowing that the trek to your desires and goals may take years to accomplish, or that the road to securing your dreams may get very steep and hella narrow. My question to you is, what do you singularly focus on? The horse had the carrot for sure, but now you. What's your carrot? What do you keep dangled out in front of you so that you know this thing, this one thing that you're singularly focused on would be worth looking at and keep you inspired to remain righteous or on the path? Can you think of it? What might be your proverbial carrot? If you can't, I want to offer something. Please let me make this suggestion. With maybe some eyes closed, I want you to see yourself with a huge, huge smile on your face. Literally a smile bursting with orange and yellow sunny light all around you. A brilliant smile, one where you close your eyes, tilt your head back to an endlessly blue sky as you open your heart and part your lips for a deep breath of relief and appreciation. Smile harder in this vision still, and even laugh in disbelief at the gorgeously fulfilled nature of your life. Now I want you to think, what puts that smile on your face? What puts that brilliantly beautiful smile on your face? For a new parent, it could be the birth of a healthy child. For a budding romance, it could be that first touch or a harmonious date. For someone in a wheelchair, it could be the sight of themselves successfully taking one step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and then walking themselves into a line and into the arms of someone who loves and supports them. Whatever that vision is, identify what you feel as that ecstasy-filled smile, that infectious smile spreads across your face. Joy, relief, happy, appreciation, accomplishment, safety, satisfaction, overall freedom, heart beating so proudly and loudly that your whole chest cavity feels it. Whatever that feeling is, if it's joy, relief, happy, appreciation, accomplishment, safety, satisfaction, freedom, or anything else, please know that that feeling and the feeling alone, that's your carrot. That feeling is your carrot. So, aligning with that feeling sets you on the wavelength, the beginning of whatever picture that you've seen for yourself. That feeling is the vibe. Whenever you allow yourself to feel that feeling unabashedly and wholeheartedly, you are that horse stepping in the direction of all of your dreams. Your higher being, who is also your inner being, who is also your realist version of you, the real you, the never having been hurt you, the free to love you, the laugh too loud and I don't care who's looking like you did when you were 5 you. That you dangles the point of focus ahead of and in front of you. You might be in a room full of snakes, a dorm full of haters, a sea full of clout chasing, sound stealing, critical, cynical assholes. And guess what? It'd be no matter. Never would you mind, because you've got you. Aligned to the core of what you and your source have realized is your destiny. So long as you're in tune, on your note, and in your alignment bag, shit. Trust and allow life to steer you to the clearest, most resource-rich way to your next level. Because it all comes back to you, boo. Y'all gonna get tired of hearing me say that, but I'll only stop beating this drum when its message stops being true. Changing the world is an inside job, and that is a lesson that I learned from attending an AA meeting while I was in grad school for a class on addiction. Where you focus is what you'll feel. Some of us are good for noticing all that is wrong with the world, while others of us, we tend to notice what's right with it. Keep in mind, both sides are correct. But focusing on a problem never puts you on the wavelength of the solution. When you are ready to start winning in life, you'll align yourself with the feelings and then the situations that are built for winning. That's the way all of this shit works.
And none of us are exceptions. Align yourself with all that's good. Then allow yourself to be led by life, love, and all of the positivity the universe has to offer, to the inspired actions that'll make all of your dreams come true. And those are my words of wisdom for today. I want to say that there were way too many ways to flip the topic for today, to flip today's episode and to flip these words of wisdom. I plan to succinctly do it by digging into it like this. I have like 3 sets of very common adages to help you guys get into the back to school spirit. 1, work smarter, not harder. 2, measure 10 times, cut once. And 3, if you think education's expensive, try ignorance. None of these are original. They've all come from something I've read or heard somewhere. Work smarter, not harder, speaks to the recognition that there are cheat codes in this life, and while words don't teach, only vibes and experiences do, words are not for nothing. They are very powerful. I avidly listen to the Joe Budden podcast. Hi, guys, if you ever listen over here. And in an episode from last year, the cast discussed how useless school seemingly is. And guess what? They had hella reason to substantiate their claims. School feels whack a lot of times. 1, more to boys than girls. 2, more to Black male learners than almost any other type of learner. And 3, almost always school feels whack to creatives. I can back up each of those statements with empirical, evidence-based, peer-reviewed scholarly studies. So if you need that, hit me for that. But the point is, just because school itself feels and can actually sometimes be whack, it in no way dictates that education is whack. Learning something before doing it will save you a lot of time, a lot of heartache, and it will help you avoid pitfalls, and some of those pitfalls from which you can never come back. Right. Yeah, you won't get a second chance at some of those things. So working smarter, not harder, is my first piece of back to school wisdom that I'd like to share with you. And as Proverbs states, a fool learns only from his own mistakes, where a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Number 2, measure 10 times, cut once, marks the second piece of wisdom I want to share with you all today. I'm a daddy's girl. Most of y'all could have figured that out by my tomboy status and swag. I hope that a lot of you all are able to see that at least. I spoke a lot of my dad's wisdom in my first released single from earlier this year entitled Wake Up. Dad told me one day when I was just moving way too fast that I needed to measure 10 times and cut once. And mind you, I'm smart as fuck. So half the time when I'm moving fast, I'm literally just attempting to keep up physically with all that my mind conjures. So the reality is, our minds are our first computers. They can literally create anything we decide to create, including the computer itself. Mm-hmm. That's why I think positive self-talk is hella important. Our minds, being the first computers, always find answers to whatever questions we pose to it. So if in a moment of misalignment, you ask yourself something like, man, why am I so stupid? Your brain works to figure out an answer. Mm-hmm. Just like Google search does when you hit the send button.
Your brain might respond back to you, well, because you've been told you were stupid all of your life, you earned horrible grades, and you've never really felt worthy anywhere you've been, and that's why you're so stupid. You're welcome. That's harsh. But for some, it's accurate nonetheless. So imagine asking yourself questions like, what would improve my state of being? Or, man, where can I learn more to make me a better man or a woman? Your brilliant computer called your brain will not only search everything you see and or have seen to find answers, but because you're focused on finding truth and answers and improvement, everything in the universe will become noticeable to you and your brain to help reveal to yourself answers of how to feel more worthy and get to your next level. I remember when I worked on Detox back in like 2008 for the second or third time with Dre. And Dr. Dre, in case any of you guys didn't know that Detox was a project of Dr. Dre's. I never know who's knowing what. Dre walked in and he watched me stack my vocals. When I got off the mic, I explained to someone who'd asked why I do my vocals the way that I do. It's a technique that I learned from my dad, Wyann Vaughn. At the end of my explanation, I said, yeah, so I basically measure 10 times and cut once, like my dad says. Dre asked, wait, say that again? What was that? I repeated myself, and Dre smiled and said, yeah, I like that. Measure 10 times, cut once. That's some wisdom right there. My last bit of wisdom that felt natural to share with you all today comes from a bumper sticker at my spiritual and wellness chiropractor's office. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. I'll use this and take a nice little shot at higher education in the process, or really any paid for education in the process. I'm gonna get my Clio on like Rhapsody say. We ain't forgot about them shots, Jack. You gonna be mad when I squeeze back. Anyways, the shot is the shot. I'm not trying to aim at anybody, but if you feel hurt, you'll holler. And if the shoe fits, buy a matching purse. That's what I was taught. Blah. Let me state this for every new college student looking to wear the colors of the school that they've seen all their lives that costs over 50 grand a year to attend. Let me let off on this topic for every set of parents who works the color of their jeans off to supply their child with any part of what they could for them to get a master's degree and then work at Starbucks because the education didn't match the job market. Let me Clio this topic for any dreamer who learned that they were brought to this country when they were born and just a couple months of age, and only learned that when they looked to apply for financial aid and felt like what my sis rap almost called her album, an alien. Let me get my West Coast social worker rah-rah on for y'all. Education is a business. School makes money. Off of who? You and me. Education at every level is a for-profit business. Let me state that differently. No level of education teaches students because it cares. No, nigga. Learn this lesson now and keep Sally Mae out your pocket. School is a business that hands out lights, cheat codes, which can work very well and in your favor. But let's be honest, school only gives out certain of those codes, certain of the hacks to life. And not only that, you got to ask the right questions to get the codes that you need. And you have to play the political game right there in the classroom just to make sure that the gems get thrown in your direction for you to put in your crown. And get this, you have to think enough of yourself to even feel like you're worthy of the investment and of the time and of the opportunities that you may have missed somewhere else. The delayed gratification for the 4 years it will take to earn you a degree that does not guarantee you success nor a job. School itself is something that, if approached with ignorance, will be the most expensive lesson you learn. And it will not be worth the little money that you make with the degree in the end. So let me help you out. I wanted to teach a class about the sociological implications of Black music at the college where I teach. And because I didn't earn a music degree, I was informed that I would be unable to teach this subject. Not only was my thesis on this exact topic, but it's what I've lived my entire life. When I sat in that dean's chair listening to how I couldn't do what I've been bred to do, I cut him off to interject a question. So wait. Sir, by your standards, at this school, what you're telling me is that Quincy Jones couldn't teach a music composition class. What you're telling me is that Shaka Khan could not teach a vocal class for effective singing here. Is that what you're telling me? Because neither of them have degrees, especially music degrees. That man hemmed and hawed, and before shrugging his shoulders and looking down, he basically muttered yes in response to my question. Quickly, I shot up from the desk, from the seat where I sat, offered him my hand to shake and said, "Oh, okay, then I'm cool on this position then. Thank you very much." Already having had my homegirl create her school of hip hop, and I helped her do that, I left that situation to help my homeboy, CEO of 1500 or Nothing, Rance Dobson, and the other good people at 1500 or Nothing, create an entire educational experience called the 1500 Sound Academy. And it does way more and way beyond what that one music class at that college could have ever done. Getting a music degree to teach a class that I already knew I could teach without it would have been ignorance being more expensive than education. Knowing my worth and who the fuck I was as a culmination of all of the education that I have on paper and the education I have inside of me as an artist, as an edutainer, that allowed me to walk out of that office like the champ I walked in as. Again, that self-education ends up paying me way more than the idea of that ignorant opinion like, hey, go get a music degree, Quincy Jones, and then you could teach us how to ... You don't get the fuck out of here. Anyways, I wanted to tie something in from episode 8 about allowance here. Listening back to the episode, I felt I did a good job of explaining alignment and not so good a job of explaining allowance. Right at the end, at the very least. So this example of leaving that music department at my college to let life create a better opportunity for me to entertain and educate, aka edutain, that feels like the dopest illustration of allowance that I can give you all. Let life, guys. Let life happen. Let life be considering we as human beings are humans being, not humans doing. That's a word to Abraham and Esther Hicks. I need you all to trust life. Trust God if that rings truer to you. Trust the universe. Trust your inner being. Trust positivity and good energy, but trust the process. That's allowance. Allowance is like practiced, aligned patience. Because sometimes patience can get illustrated as having the jitters now, waiting for the thing that you want in the future. It makes you miss your moment. That concept of patience does. Allowance feels like relishing in the energy of what's to come right now, recognizing it's already happening for you. You're trusting in the manifestation. So this is a lot of information, guys. So what I want you to do with this episode, and really every episode, especially this segment, this Wyann's Words of Wisdom, I want you to do yourself a favor. One, listen more than once to this episode, this Words of Wisdom. And I want you to write down, number 2, the points that hit you in a special way. And you know, because they made the pit of your stomach jump, or they made your brow rise. Whatever gave you some sort of a physical reaction, like a like a oh wow. Whatever gives you that sort of reaction, write those points down. And 3, in a private place, not on social media, not on a Facebook post, not on an Instagram caption, nowhere else, in a place just to you, not a text message or an email, in a place just to you, I want you to write down what made those words of wisdom react to you. What made you react to them, rather? What made them feel special? By doing that, you are processing. And once you process yourself, you will, 1, understand yourself hella deeper as a way of working smarter, not harder. Mm-hmm. You will, 2, mark a way that you are measuring where you are in life before you act. And number 3, you will save you from moving in ignorance and doing anything in this world that you can't take back. Those are my words of wisdom for this day. Only connect. These are the words of my favorite English instructor, Miss Sajadieh. In her 11th grade advanced placement or AP class, we learned that information is damn near irrelevant if it doesn't connect with people. Instruction is almost futile or meaningless if it fails to relate to a learner in some way. So very quickly, I want to divert from English to my comfort zone, which is math. Some of my student listeners felt slighted by episode 9, where I shared lessons from my teaching career, but I failed to mention how I taught a particular math concept. I told them about this lesson, and they found it to be cool. So I'll share it with y'all, because there are life lessons to be gained out of it. So again, quickly, numbers, all right? Numbers fall into certain categories, and the overarching category for beginning algebra stuff is called real numbers. Most all of the numbers that we know are real numbers. So I'm going to give you these sets of numbers from smallest to largest that make up real numbers. It's called natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, rational/irrational numbers. All of those make up this thing called real numbers. The set that I'm interested in today is integers, represented by the letter J for some odd reason. But integers are defined as whole numbers and their opposites. So the best way to imagine them is to envision a number line, all the way from negative infinity, all the way up to -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, and then all of the natural or positive numbers, the counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to positive infinity. Did you guys die? Are you guys brain fucked right now yet or no? Have you guys tuned me out? Or are you still rocking with the God? Because buckle up. This shit gets real quick, and I'm not talking about real numbers. So using Miss Sajadieh's Only Connect model, I'd like to reintroduce you to math by saying, if you're good at math, you're good at relationships. Some of you are grimacing at your devices as you listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, while others of you is looking at me crazy on YouTube, and I'm okay with all of that.
But I said what I said. Ninth, turn me up so you can hear me in the back. That shouts out to Rhapsody. If you are good at math, then you are good at relationships. The converse is true as well. If you're bad at math, you're not as good at relationships as you think. I plan to prove this with integers, but first, let me give you some context. For lady learners, y'all all think y'all are good at relationships. I know. You want to think that. Y'all want to be in love and loved on like life and fairy tales taught us we ought to be loved on. And I like that. Even when chicks try to act hella cool on some we just bumping uglies type shit, eventually this woman generally starts to contemplate relationship with the guy if certain things are in place, like she finds him attractive, he has money, stuff like that. Men, you guys learn so long as the lesson affects your pockets. The relationship y'all care about most is the one that America taught y'all you were a man by, which is how much money you have, what can you afford to buy, do you have expensive things? And if a man got money in his pocket and more from that where he came from in the bank, he will walk around like he got a 12-inch penis. Swag on a billion, as the kids say. And he'll move like a boss. Sometimes the opposite is true, but that's also a different topic for a different day. So let's set some ground rules for this lesson right here. We got positives and negatives with numbers, just like we do with people. Wherever a number goes, it takes its sign with it, just like a person takes his or her energy. You can put a positive person anywhere, and they'll look for the positives. And you can put a negative person anywhere on earth, and they will find the negative. So it gives credence to the saying, the complainer will literally find flaws with paradise. Number 2, no line is a number line until a 0 is on it. Every number line needs its 0, so we know the neutral ground that separates negatives from positives. 0 is neither negative or positive. He's just 0. He works like a mirror. It also goes to show the lesson that the opposite of love isn't hate, because love is energy in a positive direction. Hate is energy in a negative direction. So they're more similar than they are different. The actual opposite of love would be apathy, to not have shit for shit. The opposite of positive numbers would look like it's negative, but it's kind of like 0. You just stop giving a whole fuck completely. All right? So, number 3. We know a number is negative or positive given the sign that it carries directly in front of it. Similarly, you can feel a negative person coming before he opens his mouth, or you could know that a person is positive just based on the way that he feels from when he greets you. Trust your gut. You again know someone's energy before they'll tell you who they are with their words. That's the 3rd lesson. Number 4, when you have the same signs, you have an addition problem or a positive solution on your hands. Adding and subtracting integers with the same sign is an addition problem always. Multiplying and dividing integers with the same sign always results in a positive situation. On the other hand, when signs don't match, you're either in a subtracting situation or a negative one. And I'll say that again. If there is a positive alongside a negative, you are either taking something away from somewhere or you are coming to a negative solution. I want to give you guys that because it's about to make sense with a whole lot of other stuff. And then just for math people who actually give it in, focusing on subtraction, the difference or the answer to a subtraction problem takes on the sign of the bigger number in terms of absolute value. I'm not going to go all the way into absolute value. Just dig with me for a second. We're going to study this concept looking at money, so the boys should be happy. Let's look at any positive integer as money in your hand or someone paying you, and negative integers like money that you're owed or you let someone borrow. This money is not in your hand. Guys, I have a positive 3 with a positive 4. What's the result? What kind of 7? Positive 7. I got a negative 3 with a negative 1. What's the result? Negative 4. I got a positive 1 with a negative 3. A positive 1 with a negative 3. Negative 2. I got a positive 3 with a negative 1. Positive 2. So I'm going to say those same ones, and I messed up on the first one because I said the result, which was 4. That's how we got the 7. So I'm going to say those things again, but I'm going to literally move the position of each of those things. So where we had a 3 plus 1 before, now I'm going to put positive 1 plus positive 3. It still gives us a positive 4. It doesn't matter that the 3 was positive in the front before and now it's in the back. Moving them around doesn't change that a positive 3 with a positive 1 gives us a positive 4. A negative 1 with a negative 3. Before it was negative 3 and negative 1. Oh my God. It does not matter the order. If somebody owed you $3. And then they borrowed $1 more from you. You say, all right, nigga, now you know you owe me $4 damn. Exactly, $4. If somebody owed you $3, but they paid you back $1, you say, oh, okay, so you still owe me $2 more. $2 more. It's a negative 2 because it's an owed 2. Your debt has now risen to negative 2 from negative 3. And if someone owed you $1, but they paid you 3, said, man, my bad, I took so long. They paid you $3. How much did you actually come up? $2. Because 1 was the dollar they owed you. And then you came up 2 fresh new dollars that you didn't have. So some of you guys that like to play with money, y'all got all of that. My point in telling you how those moved around, talking about who owed money versus who paid money, is no matter where the negatives or the positives are, if the signs match, things are growing. Like somebody owed me $3 and now they borrowed 1 more. Their debt grew by $1. You see what I'm saying? Negative 3 and negative 1 gives me negative 4. Your debt grew. If the signs don't match, things are diminishing. Now listen at that. The signs being different means that there is something subtracting from it. All right? In terms of love and relationships, while opposites may attract, similarities keep people together. There's longevity in being evenly yoked. Like, if I have negative $3 worth debt and my boyfriend has negative $1, you know what? We both owe people. And it's just negative 1 and negative 3. Collectively as a couple, we owe the government, let's just say, student loan people. Hello, I'm waving to you. We owe negative 4 now. Much different than if I owe if I owe $3 and somebody ends up owing $3 million. That don't feel evenly yoked no more. Yeah, we all owe shit, but geez, you understand. So the disparity, I want you guys to notice when these disparities happen in your life, because when energies don't match, someone is bringing the value in the relationship down. The value of the complete relationship is going down. Let me speak specifically to the ladies just for a second. Stop getting in relationships talking about you about to change somebody for the better. It's not happening, kiddo. You're losing while they're gaining. It is no individual's job to save their mate. You need to be 100%, just like they need to be 100%, so that from the fullness of each of you, you can create one fulfilled relationship. So party people, learn this. This podcast exists to behave like an energy charger,
raising each of your vibrations to get y'all as close to full as we all can in the hour or so that we run it. Taking the fullness from our connection, the idea is to get y'all out there to connect with folks who are full just like you. That's the self-awareness piece, the high vibration and learning about love piece that we offer directly in the beginning of us. As you interact with people, please keep a keen notice on what their vibes are. Notice if you feel charged up when you're around a person, or if you feel depleted as a result of having interacted with them. That's very important. If you notice more energy suckers around you, refer them to energy charging sources, whether that be good music, whether that be school, whether that be church or the synagogue, wherever people go these days, whatever fills you back up. You can even, refer them to somewhere like this podcast. But only refer them here if they're like real motherfuckers. Like don't bring the wrong people here, because we don't cater to everybody. Literally, this platform is not for everybody. We do non-corny positivity. And a lot of people who claim positive are corny as fuck. And those are my words of wisdom for today. I wanted to end on that on purpose because that is a real thing. People will try to give you that positive. And when I say positive and corny, I mean when it's superficial, when it's a gimmick, when people ain't just, cool with it. They got to be too deep. The next thing you know, you asking somebody how they doing and they say, well, the blue oak from the red charged moon. It's like, okay, I'm cool. I don't even know what the fuck that means. So the quotable piece about this is, a wife is a wife before a husband ever finds her. And I want you to know that that works in reverse too. A husband is a husband before choosing a wife. Terrace Martin loves this analogy that I conjured up in 2013. We were in a YG session for My Crazy Life, to be exact. I told him, T, you know what I've learned I got to do? I got to keep the pace. And I went on to explain. Much before I knew about Nipsey Hussle and his marathon analogy for life, I looked at relationships like a well-paced jog. As a runner in this marathon of love, I have to condition and stretch well, get good night's sleep, and maneuver in ways that will forever enhance my jog called life. So far too often, in relationships, I'd found that I had a propensity to become distracted when a guy jogging his race for life would find me and jog alongside me in either of two maladaptive ways. So the first way I learned never to jog with a man goes like this. I'm jogging, right? You got to picture it. My titties is perky. They bouncing. Ass. Just yeah. Listening to DJ Quick or something like that while I'm just a jogging and a sweating along. And then here he comes. He notices me. He says, hey, girl. In what I'm sure is a flirty tone, but I don't hear it because Quick is talking about how she passed by in a black Mercedes with Nate Dogg in my ears. So the first distraction becomes, I remove my music to hear what he's talking about. He repeats, hey girl. And I nod back as I smile and assess him, not wanting to speak in return because, again, I've conditioned myself for this race called life, which means while on this road, I need my breath so that I can pace myself alongside my feet. Oh, you can't talk to nobody becomes his sentiment. And I, feeling guilty, managed to engage in my second distraction by uttering a breathy, hey there yourself, because I notice he's cute enough to respond to. Well, slow down, girl, dang. Can't you let a real one get to know you? I now have to choose between successfully completing the race for today and possibly finding love. I slow my jog to a trot, and then I stop. Strike 3. Here I'm out. What if this relationship turns out to be a dud? Or what if he's the one? Well, that takes time to figure out here and now, so I become several months behind in my conditioning and in my jogging, all because I chose to seek love with a distracting man. Ladies, the mistake in this version of the story is called being unevenly yoked. The man for you, if you're a woman on your JO like I be, needs to be keeping your pace. This man wouldn't distract you with words while you're clearly listening to your own music in life. This man wouldn't ask for energy that you need for yourself, like talking back when you need to pace your breath for your race. And this man, for you, surely wouldn't ask that you stop pursuing your goals in life. He wouldn't ask that you stop running your race. Wrong guy number 2 plays himself out in this way. All right, so we back on the marathon. We recovered from wrong guy number 1. We allowed ourselves to become distracted by, and yes, ladies, we own our shit around here. We allowed ourselves to become distracted by a possibility for love. And we understand now that we've forgiven ourselves for mistaken judgment. We've reconditioned ourselves, and we back on the trail. So here now, we're listening to Anderson .Paak and Dr. Dre because we back on our bullshit. We got some miles, bro. I'm looking good, bitch. We're jogging faster. We on our grind. We going. And then we notice a hella cutie. Oh, he's jogging beside us, ladies. Fine as all outdoors, in shape, ain't trying to talk with us or distract us in any way. We clearly notice one another and just jog this race called life alongside one another until suddenly he's hurt. Not paying attention to his path, he stumbles on some, let's say, camouflaged or exposed route. He's rolled his ankle, ladies. And we stop our run. We stop our run again because we want to tend to his needs. After weeks of helping this injured runner, we're going with him to physical therapy. We're assisting him. We're loving him despite his limitations. We return to our run with him only to find that while he's back in fighting shape, we're out of shape. Jogging alongside one another is no more. He takes strides that we haven't trained to manage. Now in this man's dust, he jogs ahead of us. He even has the strength to keep up and in stride with a new lady runner, all the way ahead of us and our slowed gait. Hence, we learn a harsh lesson number 2 about keeping the pace. Stopping our run, ladies, is not an option. If we are to completely and fully love, we must be complete and full. Next time our guy rolls his ankle or finds himself unable to keep the pace for any other reason, we call to check in on him. We send our encouragement as we continue to pace ourselves on our journeys. And when we can manage, we visit and we show that we care. But in no way do we stop our marathons. If we're a real team, then only one of us needs to cross the finish line in order for the unit to win anyways. Therefore, our marathons must continue. Now, man number 3 comes along. We are equipped with knowledge now, and we ain't going back to any of those issues that we previously faced. We are on our jobs, face forward, focus filled. And surprisingly, so is he. He does not stop and jog behind us and ask that we slow down. He does not jog beside us even, keeping our same pace. This man jogs ahead of us, aware of us, but not focused on us. He silently stays ahead, giving us courtesy calls when there's some obstruction in our paths. We know where to jog because we see where he successfully goes. When we retire from the jog for the day, he replenishes himself as we do ourselves. He's conversive, attentive, yet very independent. After some time of jogging that way with us and learning how our ways behave when our races subside, we develop mutual respect for one another's patterns. We don't seek to change what goes on with him, and he does not look to alter us. We just work. Ladies, this is who's commonly referred to as Mr. Right. Some males would contest that this guy actually exists, to which I say they have their rights to doubt. But I will say that I've had the pleasure of meeting men, not just guys, men. And these men, in their subtle, non-invasive ways, they lead women. They are fly in their own ways, and they have lives outside of the women they date or marry. Women would count themselves lucky to encounter such a gentleman in a society nowadays that is pervasive in guys looking to keep surface, transactional types of relationships instead of ones with depth and meaning. I can think of a few reasons guys may doubt the presence of Mr. Right. One, they may not see themselves that way and aren't looking to become someone's Mr. Right. Two, they might function from a learned paradigm that says there's no such thing and therefore don't possess becoming a one-woman man as a goal. And three, guys may see the large disparity of available men to women in society as a hella viable, hella benefiting players sort of mentality situation, and they won't find a need for settling down until they look like the old uncle in the club. And oh men, y'all look so crazy in your late 30s and 40s, still preying on 20-year-olds. I got fine little students between 18 and 25, and they show me y'all weirdo DMs. These girls tell me how y'all think y'all are so smooth, coming up to their jobs, got their supervisors asking if you they uncle or some sort of old homeboy of your dad's. Listen, niggas, y'all look crazy. But until y'all have that moment in the club where the fine girl looks at you real nuts, some of you won't even consider settling down because y'all won't see the viability in it until then. Let me assure you, your defeated, depleted, lusty vibe at 45 looking for the fine 25-year-old can be felt a fucking mile away. Women will avoid you. You will be crusty and icky and creepy. Stop thinking you'll be young forever, guys. Grow up. Now, if you've just decided that you'd rather do life alone, then I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to guys who still think they got it and only claim they don't want a relationship because they literally can't get one. This type of guy may even get a relationship but will fail to keep it once the hot girl realizes you ain't got the money she thought you did. Because age-wise, you look like a sugar daddy. Ways to grow your vibe up, men, can be discussed in a future episode, but I just wanted to put this tidbit in the meantime. Ladies, I wanted to thank you if you made it to the end of today's episode, because I don't know that everything I reported on today felt easy to hear. Keep jogging your race, ladies. Keep pacing yourselves. Stay focused on your goals and not on whether a man joins you or not. I want you to know that one male in my research reported if a woman does not want to get cheated on, then she needs never to date. I do not believe that fully, but I offer it here to say that some men, maybe many men, who knows, have this thought at some point in their dating careers. Another gentleman reported that the only thing that keeps him faithful is himself and his focus on his goals and God. Therefore, nothing you can do, ladies, keeps a man. So please, stop looking to focus on a man to be the fulfillment of why you exist and want a relationship. Stop altering yourself for the securing of a good man. I can't tell you how many good men I've had the pleasure of dating, and in all their goodness, they've still managed to mingle with another woman. And with all of them being so different, I can only say the common denominator between all of them was me. I had to do some work. I had a vibe that clearly kept attracting the same man and different physical men. I can say the journey has been a wild one, fun though, and learning myself more fully and discovering how to love myself even better has been a fucking blast. As I do that, new love and opportunities for everything in life have just been pouring and pouring in. I'm jogging my jog and keeping my pace, and the results have been nothing less than astounding. And it's been only getting better every day. And yours will too. And those are my words of wisdom for today. Time is an illusion, I heard someone say. And before, I thought this was completely crazy. In my head, there's distinctly a yesterday, today, and a tomorrow. I remember where and when I was 30, and I know exactly where I am now today. And while I enjoy Wyann in both of those phases, then and now, I can assure you that there, let me tell it, was a real distinction between Wyann of yesteryear and Wyann of today right now. So I toyed with this idea, this concept of time as a continuum. And the more I pondered it, the more I found truth in it. Picture this, okay? It's autumn. We're in some enchantment of a lush forest. Currently, we stand by an embankment and a body of water that flows through it. We can feel the rich brown mud sucking at our shoes. It smells like life after fresh rain. Hovering trees mourn their brown and golden red and orange colored leaves that release them in a gentle breeze as they pepper the forest floor, adding color to the saturated green and permanently brown. Now imagine in this quiet, you hear a few birds chirping. All right? Critters make their moves around that forest floor. And as you're seeing all of this, you look up at one of those trees, find one of the leaves that's losing its grip to the tree he's attached to. You watch him lazily fall into an awaiting stream. Watch its reception in the clear colored water, the gurgling sweetly water as if applauding the leaf's arrival. The leaf touches down and immediately begins its trek down the stream. It glides over rocks and roots, travels almost diagonally for a while, then champions the ups and downs of the movements of the water, looking almost like a roller coaster taking on a camelback set of humps in a very natural way. Watch this leaf in your head as it gets stuck in a muddy space close to the embankment where you are. And despite the momentum of the always moving stream, our leaf just can't get loose from where it stands. Coming down the stream, a twig caught in the water joins the whole case. And with its size and weight, it pushes the leaf from its entrapment. And now that leaf is going and going all the way down that stream to the point of view no longer attainable to us. Time is that stream, constantly going, unapologetic, always moving with or without you or your consent. We are that leaf, going along with this continuum of time and its current. That entire journey for the leaf was its reality,
It was his now. At no moment was the reception into the water deemed as now for the leaf and the release from its tree seen as yesterday. I mean, you watched that whole scenario in your head, and it all happened in right now. At what point was past, present, and future for our beloved colorful leaf? We can discuss and decide, but it would all be conjecture because one, we're not the leaf. If we ask the leaf, it may seem that its life story began when the tree was planted or when it first bursted out of one of the branches. It might speak about present tense in a space where we can no longer see it because it's traveled so far out of our limited sight. So then the moral of the story becomes this. We, humans, our perception, we create past, present, and future. Any moment, we stop living in the moment. We can create future anytime we choose not to recognize where we are as a part of where we're going. Certain emotions indicate these disconnections as well. Regret or guilt, resentment, even nostalgia. They all tell us that our focal point remains in the past. Worry, anxiety, even excitement, all hint that we live in the future. To feel in the present is to hold peace, balance, calm, fulfillment, to appreciate and to know your worthiness. That's all about living in the present and in the moment. There's no judgment regarding whoever you are or have been or will be. There's only compassion and there's only understanding about realizing that each phase of your life is just a part of that whole continuum called time. I read somewhere that if we would have snapshotted Eartha Kitt, Quincy Jones, and Maya Angelou, each at the age of 21, we would have seen a salacious working woman, a former gang member from Chicago, and a woman who sang and danced with few clothes on. With time always moving, with every picture we take, we create history. With every judgment we pass on ourselves or on others, we create history. And we're creating history because we're acting like the snapshots of life we're observing is the end of the stream's current called time. Eartha Kitt died a prodigy. Quincy Jones made a way for almost every Black entertainer, period, and holds, I think, the most individual Grammys to date. Dr. Maya Angelou was one of the grandest artivists, I heard that somewhere, activists and artists of our time, earning poetic accolades that rival William Shakespeare, according to some scholarly sources. I get why it's hard for us as humans to realize our greatness in any one moment. One, we've been taught to always strive for more and do better. Therefore, even when we win, we're lusting over our next victories. Rarely do we take pause and relish in accomplishments we've previously made. Two, everything in culture propels us forward. I went shopping in August this year just to be greeted with Halloween candy and decorations. Let retailers and marketers tell it, Thanksgiving damn near doesn't exist. Right around October, we see Christmas trees and decorations advertised. Hell, Black Friday gets more play than Indigenous Peoples Recognition Day. And you know why? Well, there's way more money to be made on Black Friday than the thank God it's Turkey Day. But I digress. Not only do outside forces encourage us to forever look forward in longing or nostalgically at the past, we're also programmed internally that same way. 2019 has been the year that I discovered my worth. I did it accidentally and gradually, but as I had gained some weight I wasn't happy about, I decided to do something about it. I looked at old pictures where I was as much as maybe 50 pounds lighter. And I realized something with each picture I picked up. Some at 50 pounds lighter, 20 pounds lighter, 30 pounds, 15 pounds lighter. I was never satisfied in any of those moments. I literally took pics of myself and I looked at my body when it looked like a track star's body. And I can remember my thoughts in the picture at the time that said, oh, if only I'll lose 5 more pounds, then I will be my target weight. I never lost those 5 pounds. In fact, over the years from that time, I was my smallest. I'd only successfully gained about 5 pounds here, 2 pounds there, and so on. And even still, I was athletic. I had dope stuff going on, but still in each picture I found, I can look at that girl's face and remember her thoughts that she didn't outwardly show, that all stated, when I lose X amount of pounds, I'll feel X amount of ways. This year, right before my birthday, something clicked. I decided, hey, yo, I'm happy. Now, yesterday, tomorrow, I'm happy with me. End of fucking discussion. I put old pictures away because according to Abraham Hicks, my inner godlike version of myself never looks back anyway. And as much as that leaf never missed the sky from which it fell while it was dancing in that water where it now dwelled, I gave up lamenting over where I'd ever been and learned to just start appreciating where I was simply because I was. I felt reluctant to claim my worth or saying things like, I deserve to always feel good. I maybe learned this from a certain maybe misalignment in the church world that I came from, where pastors cry out, oh God, we are not worthy. We are not worthy. We are not worthy. And I always felt confused by that because I knew from my Christian background that I was created in God's image and likeness. I knew that Jesus was my big bro. And I knew that the Holy Spirit resided right within me. So if I knew all these things and I'm so related and intertwined with the supreme being who created and was created from worth, why did we profess so loudly that we weren't worthy? I couldn't see it. Every front part of my day for the last year has been me writing out, amongst other things. And let me tell you, shutting the world out and giving myself everything I ever thought I wanted from someone else has forever changed the trajectory of my life. If I never get another degree or a Grammy or any other outward thing, I know I am. The most powerful sentence in the human language. I am. Another part of what I am, because once you say I am, you are saying I equals sign something. So number one, I am, meaning I exist, period. And because of that, knowing I'm a king's kid, I am worthy like him. I am loved and lovable like him. And you can start to put whatever pronouns on things that you want. You can start to put it on the universe if you want. All of that becomes semantics. And if you get caught up in those small details, I can tell you, you can very easily miss a blessing. What I know is that a part of living in your worthiness is being able to sit with just you in a mirror or not in a mirror and being able to say, damn, you fly. I love you. Not because of something you've done or what you've been, but just you. That's being worthy. That is worth, self-worth. And as I began writing out earlier this year, I couldn't see that that was worthiness. I looked at worthiness like it was entitlement. If I said, I deserve fill in the blank, I felt like I was being a spoiled brat or an entitled such and such. Please hear me when I tell you this, especially people who have been programmed to think in a religious way that maybe the religion profits off of you feeling bad for you to gain for them to gain your presence in a church pew. Let's just say, that's just an example. Worthiness is not entitlement. Worthiness is simply recognizing your light because you are alive, period. The illumination of spirit within you as a human being, that is your worthiness. You, I don't care who you are, while you sit here and listen with me today, you are worthy. You're Muslim, you're worthy. You're Catholic, you're worthy. You're agnostic, you're worthy. You're atheist, you're worthy. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning, you are worthy. You've done terrible things in your life. You are worthy. You don't know where you're going to end up tomorrow. You are worthy. You inwardly feel racist thoughts and racist emotions, and you harbor hate to some other group of people for no apparent reason. You are worthy. The internet troll that looks at everyone else's lives and has crazy comments to dispel to a person they have no clue what that individual is going through. Guess what? You are worthy. Blood or Crip, sinner or saint, you are worthy. Please hear this from me if you've never been introduced to yourself as a worthy human being, regardless of your circumstance. Recognizing your worth and spending more of your time there, right there in your worth, will release that ugly depression, those suicidal thoughts, those doubts, racism, sexism, xenophobia, fear of missing out, FOMO, comparative thoughts that always keep you affirming that you're less than. Whether you compare yourself to people you've never met on social media, or you look at you in pictures from yesteryear, thinking that something about them is more important or worthy than you. Your time is not over, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, you can take your tragic story, I don't care how tragic, and I don't care what your story is. You can throw in some heroic plot twist, you being a hero for yourself, and you can end on something magnificent if you decide to. It's all in you. And you might not feel like you got the time, but let me assure you, whether you feel like you got the time, like that leaf in that stream, time definitely got you. Connect with your life now. Tap into that love and tap into that worthiness, because it's all there for you. And those are my words of wisdom for today. I hope y'all enjoyed all of episode 12, as well as 11 through 1. But 12 was a doozy, and I just look back at it and laugh my butt off. Funnily, I say I look back at it because it happened just moments ago. That's why I have on the same outfit. Don't think I'm dirty. I'm just continuing on my day. So, as promised, you're about to get a 13th dose of Wyann's words of wisdom. And without further ado, I plan to put you right into it. Once you're left in wrong, you can't get back right. What is dirty isn't clean. Darkness never sees light. Day can never be night. What is, will be. In things that are different, what is alike? Hey, losers, just accept defeat. That's the beginning of a poem I wrote called 13. Those words illustrate the hard blacks and whites to which we tend to subscribe in life. These days, though, I notice how much more gray it all is, everything in life. I wanted to take my final word of wisdom and give you all the reason I love and appreciate 13s. I was born April 13th, most of you know. Every Friday the 13th was a great birthday for me. I just released music on a Friday the 13th right here in December of 2019. And oh, it was an amazing party to say the least. To my unfamiliar listeners, 13, and even more so Friday the 13th, have been deemed as historically unlucky. You can Google this on your own, but businesses lose literally millions of dollars where 13 is concerned, all due to triskaidekaphobia, or the fear of the number 13. So just so you guys know, anytime folks all crowd around some commonly held belief, I have a desire to study it. As is one of the taglines of this show, I like to raise my capacity for love, which is knowledge. So when I study something, I can either learn it in more depth to further understand it and its truth so that I can love it, or I learn it in its actual truth, where most people have only kind of skimmed around what its bare necessities are. And then I learn to love it accurately, which is probably that's my truth with the number 13. And because 13 is so near and dear to me, I decided to learn about it, not just believe the hype. And here is what I found. Studying the concept of 13 made me analyze, really fear. 13 itself is simply a number. A prime number, okay, but a number nonetheless. History has attached a lot of other meanings to this number, but at its core, 13 is just the number after 12. Finding its truth and appreciating it for its truth, I decided to create a new narrative for myself regarding 13, and it was this. 13 would forevermore represent resilience for me. For those that don't know, resilience is your ability to recover after having been knocked down. Resilience is buoyancy. It is your bounce back feature. So if you get knocked down 12 times, you get up 13. That is resilience. Studying the number 13 would be a blaring symbol of unidentifiable and unfounded fear. 13 would become a beacon for me of what it meant to be hated and feared for no other reason than that people were taught to do so. It is a numerical representation of stereotypes gone completely wrong. 13 started as a poem in my life. It became the name of my first book of poetry, and it evolved into its own culture that used to run with the motto, love everyone, judge no one, be 13. People who rock with 13 culture represent folks who see more gray areas in life than hard blacks and hard whites. A final line from the poem 13 reads, "A baby is a clean slate. You feed it failure and hurt dreams, and you can turn wonders to waste. Give it a bad rep, like 13. And that line represents to me how I feel about humanity. While I love being a Black American woman who enjoys hip hop more than any other art form of music, it's not to say that I can't enjoy a Chinese man who's never spoken English and listens to indie rock more than any other form of music. I am who I am. You are who you are. We may disagree and have different preferences and have been taught different, widely agreed upon truths that starkly differ from one another's. And guess what? All of that is okay. Where some find good and bad in others, I'd say I find similarities or differences in one another. Oftentimes people will say you've done something wrong when in actuality what they truly mean is that you've done something differently from the way that they would have. And because of its difference, they call it wrong or even bad. If you and I both make the same mistake, so therefore we do things similarly, guess what? We're still both wrong. We don't get kudos just because we fucked up similarly. There's an example I can think of where a lot of people in this industry call my brother Terrence Martin. He hates it, by the way. But I know certain people who've known Terrace for years, for ages, who all will say, oh man, Terrence Martin is and there are other people who also have stature, they're smart, they're accomplished, and they also call my brother Terrence. And because these individuals all call him Terrence, over the years of knowing him, they've never seen the need to correct themselves because I've known him for years. It's Terrence. Nah. I know Curly Martin and Mama Rose, and I bet you both of them could produce a birth certificate that could educate you to the fact that that man's name is Terrace. So again, just because people mess up in a similar fashion, it doesn't guarantee their correctness, right? And I want to go back to something I said. This is kind of off the script right now, guys. Well, where I was talking about, I want to say 13 being a beacon for me of what it is to be hated and feared for no other reason than that people were taught to do so. I think it's interesting, when I do these Wyann's words of wisdom, I kind of just write out and I let my stream of consciousness flow. And I'm pretty sure that if you've watched especially all episodes from 2019, and maybe you just joined us today, so no worries. This podcast was a product of young Black men at my college, Ujima, PCC, in Pasadena, asking me to just kick knowledge, especially because while these young men that I knew were in a space of higher education, we would kick knowledge via hip hop and talk about different concepts in hip hop, but take it to a deeper place. And what one of my very vocal students, who was also featured on episode 3 and visually on episode 9, young Jaquevis, he says, Auntie, he calls me Auntie, I got homeboys back home in South Carolina who need to hear the wisdom that you kick in, but they're not setting foot on a college campus. That don't mean they don't need the information though. And he charged me with that in December of 2018. And at the top of 2019, the first few events, the first few outings on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 3 days in a row, I went to 1500 Sound Academy. On the first day, I spoke with 2 of our guys, both Latino. Is Avila, one of the world famous in R&B, especially Avila brothers, responsible for hits all over Usher's Confessions and Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Janet Jackson, blah, blah, blah. And then a bright, beautiful, wonderful sociologist, my homeboy, Andy, who kind of runs 1500 Sound Academy for us. And two Latino gentlemen. And I told them about the scope of the podcast. And I wanted it to be a place where Black men who are typically unable to be understood because maybe people don't understand them because they don't listen. I wanted to be a beacon. I wanted to be, as a Black woman voice, a way to help an ethnically, culturally diverse audience of whoever fucks with me personally, a way for them to be able to have a window into the Black male psyche and see that he's just a person. Sort of like what happens with 13. And these two Latino men said, why, that's really dope. And I know that, there's a lot of Mexican-American, Latino, young, brown men who would really benefit from something like that too. And when they said that, that was Wednesday the 2nd of 2019, I realized that maybe my scope was too narrow, because definitely Black and brown people, especially gentlemen, would be able to benefit from the type of knowledge that I kick on here through hip hop, because they are some of the biggest consumers of hip hop. So I widened my scope on the 2nd. On the 3rd of January, I was back at the 1500 Sound Academy, because that next day, the 4th of Friday, we were going to host Nipsey Hussle, celebrating his Grammy nomination and deconstructing his victory lap. So on this Thursday, the 3rd, I'm speaking with CEO of 1500 and Nothing, Lawrence Dobson, a couple of individuals who are now my students at 1500 Sound Academy, as well as a few engineers, 2 white gentlemen. Everyone else in the room was Black. So it was about 8 people in there total. So 6 Black gentlemen, 2 white gentlemen. And we started talking about relationships. And when I tell you, the whole room, I brought up the topic, but I literally creaked open this door and these men bursted through, all of them talking about vulnerabilities in relationships that I've never heard them talk about so candidly before. And I said, hey, have you guys talked to your girls about this? Talk to your baby mom, your fiance? Have you guys? Oh, hell no. That's just something that, you like one of the dudes though. Why? I'm like, okay. I can't even get mad. DJ Pooh on the pharmacy, he used to be like, hey, why? Do your nigga voice. And my nigga voice is me imitating him. So anyways, by the way, so yeah, I'm back. Thursday the 3rd of January, 2019, I had that conversation with all those men, white, Black, and a gentleman from the islands. And I says, whoa, this might just be a place where men get to just toss it out there, whatever their thing is. And on the 4th, that Friday, I get to the 1500 Sound Academy. We get to host the dopest event for Nipsey. And Miss Gorgeous Lauren is there in her fur and her hair up in a bun and cute as hell and all this different stuff. And it was a lovely event. As the event lets out, I talked to Dave Ford. You remember this. I talked to Dave Ford, my second in command on this show, and G, who is Nipsey's, who is Nipsey's engineer at the time. And he says, and I says to them, hey, so remember I was talking about maybe doing something like a podcast, because I think I maybe had hinted at it before. But the thing was, I spoke about it out loud that Friday evening, maybe 11 some odd o'clock. And at the time, I had just made the podcast page, and Chris Cadenhead under Chris C's and Wyann Vaughn, Wyanna, were the first 2 followers of the Raise It Up Y page. The 3rd and 4th followers were Dave Ford and G Net, aka Nipsey's engineer. And that's how this whole ride began, talking to ethnically diverse gentlemen about what they thought of a Black chick who loves hip hop, educated, but also verified without the blue check in the hip hop game and in the music game, regardless, all over, you know what I mean? Very West Coast LA. What did they think about someone like me representing their voice? Because I don't do nothing for someone. This might be my MSW side speaking, but I don't look to represent cultures that don't accept me into that culture. That would make me a vulture, right? A culture vulture is where you're benefiting off of some sort of a subgroup, a culture that you don't heavily fuck with, 1, 2, contribute to, 3, only look to benefit and gain from without circling back and giving into. So again, I'm verified. I'm verified in the game when it comes to hip hop, especially when it comes to West Coast, and when it comes to being able to hear gentlemen objectively, logically, and being able to still deliver a soft, very, very feminine, very, very womanly, opinionated set of feedback back to them to help them understand the Venus side while I'm looking to understand that Mars side, if you will. You know, that's a reference to a book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's a long story. If you don't know it, you might be too young. Don't fuck with it. Don't worry. But I'm giving you guys all of that so I can say to you, 13 for me represents being able to provide a voice to the voiceless, or those who feel that their voice has either not been heard or represented in its most pure form. I by no means look to replace a masculine voice. I do, however, know that there are certain entities that will respect my degree and what I bring before they'll listen to the gentleman of hip hop that I know I represent. That's hilarious. And then also there are individuals who, maybe by design, maybe unconsciously, if I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, they will hear a Black woman, well, where they will instead fear a heterosexual Black man. And that's why you've heard on certain episodes where I talk about a heterosexual Black male. It's not because I don't represent the LGBTQ plus community, because that would be stupid. And I totally do, by the way. But it's just the fact that while we sit and listen to and seek to understand all of these groups, women, sisterhood, LGBTQ plus community, those that come from poverty, there's something to be said for being able to not lose sight of the fact that gentlemen, who I choose to call gentlemen, but men, heterosexual men, especially brown and Black, they sometimes have their voice very muffled and muted and lost in the shuffle while everyone else is seeking to be heard. And kind of, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying from all of this 13 stuff, and even my Wyann's Words of Wisdom from episode 12, is the fact that we all have a sense of worth. This whole podcast looks to raise your self-awareness so that you can learn to love on yourself and find that love and that worth that you have intrinsically set within you. You ain't got to do shit to earn it or make it more present. What if you were just created perfectly? Me with my eczema, you with your dark skin, you with your short hair, you with your inflated height, who knows? Like, whatever you look like, whatever you are, wherever you are, what if you're perfect? Wyann's Words of Wisdom from episode 3. What if you're perfect? And being perfect doesn't necessarily mean that you don't feel, that you're invincible, that you don't have spaces where people can say things and that might hurt you. That's not what I mean. I'm saying, what if you, where you are right now, as a leaf in a stream on episode 12's Words of Wisdom, what if where you are is fine? Taking the peaks and the valleys, what if that's fine? Getting stuck in an embankment and letting something come and break you out of that. What if all of that is just a part of the journey? What if everything is already going right? Something to think about, right? I'm going to let that conclude my Wyann's Words of Wisdom for 2019. And I want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, you can always find all things Wyann Vaughn at wyannvaughn.com. I really appreciate the love and the feedback that I'm getting from Wyann EP. Stay tuned for more dates, for listening parties and things of that nature. I know the emotions got some dates coming up and stuff like that, but I ain't gonna look right now because that's not what we doing. My point is though, I just appreciate y'all. It's been an amazing ride, and I hope you guys have grown as much as y'all have grown me up in 2019. So much love and positivity always. As always, stay real, y'all.
Raise it up, why? Raise it up. Raise it up, why? Raise it up. Hey, raise it up, why? Raise it up. Raise it up, why? Hey, raise it up. Hey, raise it up, why? Raise it up. Raise it up, why? Raise it up.